Yep.
We are live, Pat, and everybody joining us here. RIZIN 27 is going down as we speak, but we're at intermission, and that is why we're here. First show of 2021, Pat. Man, flying by. A lot of ridiculous performances. I mean, that is just that's all you can hope to get with RIZIN, man. Which one has stood out to you the most so far? Let's kick it off with that.
I mean, that's a great question. Yeah,
Right?
this has been an awesome night of late night violence here in the States, and what we've come to expect from RIZIN, just killing it with these cards. For me, it's got to be the Watanabe comeback. I mean, that fight had so much back and forth. I thought Watanabe was done round one. I thought it was okay. It's time. It's over. And then round two comes around, and he gets that body lock, just throws him down, body lock triangle, and then finally gets it. That's the most back and forth one, so that sticks out in my mind the most. But I mean, there are so many. I could list them all. I don't want to take them. I want to give you some things to talk about. But I mean, of course, of course. Other than that, I mean, the Arlovsky Fedor of 2021.
Yep.
Just man, gosh, those are the two biggest standouts for me. What about you?
Oh boy, I mean, yeah, I like the Watanabe Tamaru mentioned. That was one that I feel like Takumi just really he was very comfortable, kind of just a little bit too much just with that fight. Like he never really flipped that switch, which he generally does in his fights, and it ended up costing him. So yeah, that's a good mention. But in terms of highlights, I don't know, kicking off the night immediately, Yuki Ito. That was pretty insane. Didn't see that coming. And the perfect way to start a RIZIN show with a 33-second knockout. And that wasn't even the fastest one we've had so far. I mean, the Yamashita, the Shian and Sone one, which was before Yoshinori Hori's fight. I mean, goodness, that was beautiful too, how he runs in. Sone runs in, going for the takedown in the corner and then backfires terribly as he eats the big left hand. Very quick finishes for the most part here tonight, and just all around good action. I mean, that Taiga fight we just got, that was madness all over the place. So those are kind of the ones that stand out to me. But I mean, everything so far has looked very good. And I mean, even in the what was it? It doesn't list it on here. The no contest for who was that? Sakurai. That was a really good knockout too, but it doesn't count because he missed weight, which is rare to see over in Japan, but it happens every now and then. So all right, I pretty much touched on everything real quick there out the gate, which it's just how it happens sometimes, you guys. But we will kind of look at some more of the specifics of things. And since I did, kickboxing started things off with 3 fights in a row. The Naito performance, which, okay, I guess let's touch on that one really quick, because that is something I wanted to point out with, Naito versus Hiroki. Dude, that was exactly how you want, the perfect display of how to pressure somebody in a kickboxing match. That was ridiculously impressive to me.
Yeah, Naito's use of those front kicks to just keep that distance where he wanted it, and then just end up, get it. He played that out so well that there wasn't really anything that Hiroki could do. I mean, when you're looking at it, Hiroki's trying to move forward, he's trying to get in there, and Naito just did a perfect, as you mentioned, a perfect example of how to keep your opponent at the distance that you want, and then just sniping from the outside. It was beautiful. It was a masterclass.
Yeah, he looked very, very good in that one, indeed. And so as we move on through the card after that, of course, more kickboxing, as I mentioned. Riki versus Riku, as I kind of wanted to call that fight, because they were one letter off in their names, which was, of course, Sakurai and Yoshida, the no contest that we had. Good stuff from Sakurai. Gets what would have been a win if he didn't miss weight in somewhat of a tiny bit of bad blood matchup. After that, Sato and Kunimoto, that was a draw, which that was interesting because I felt like Kunimoto, he edged it, not like super clearly, but enough, I would say. So I didn't see a draw coming there. How did you feel about that decision?
Same. I thought Kunimoto, especially at the end of round 3 there, got enough done to basically take that win. It was surprising to hear the judges give it a draw, but I mean, again, it's different where it's scored over the entire course of the fight. That is what we love partially about RIZIN, is it's not just round by round. So if you look at it from a holistic fight, you know, I'm not mad it's a draw. I'm not saying it's crazy, but you know, it's hard to separate that when I'm watching fights all the time and it's like, okay, well, he's now pulled away in round 3. He should win. It's like, oh, no, wait, that's not how this works.
When we bled into it so naturally tonight with UFC earlier, like perfect timing, perfect timing for the shows to end and start and all that. So you got to kind of remind yourself a little bit of what things mean and all of that. So that was definitely not like a terrible decision or anything. I agree with you there. Just, you know, felt personally that probably would have given it to Kunamoto, but not mad at a draw. It was close enough for that. So then after that, immediately after was Muramoto versus Yamamoto, which was the reenactment of Arlovsky versus Fedor. And I think that what made that kind of so ridiculous to me, besides the fact that it was the finish that it was the fact that flyweights, dude, like a knockout like that at flyweight, very impressive. And Muramoto, he packed some power, man, to be able to do that, you know, at 125.
Yeah, no, the flyweights have just delivered in spades tonight in terms of finishes and action. It just, you know, if you want to say flyweights don't have power, you obviously have never watched a RIZIN show. And this card is just disproving that point all night long. And yeah, that particular, the fact that he went for 3 straight jumping knees to the face, is just bonkers. And then just a straight right down the pipe. Just, you couldn't, I mean,
he was almost begging for it.
Yeah, like he really was. He was just like, well, the first 2 didn't work. Better try it a third time. Like,
third time's not the charm, pal. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's so. I mean, interesting strategy there, but yeah, I mean, he capitalized on it, and there you go, a Fedor like finish in terms of just.
Affliction never die, as they might say. So, all right, then right after that, we get to kind of where the storylines come out. And I mentioned that because I got to give a shameless plug to the rebirth of Drake's Takes. Of course, you guys, if you didn't see it yet here on the channel, the Body Lock, check it out later on after the show is over, of course. Not just this show, the whole show, RIZIN 27. But I mentioned that because the bantamweights, we got back-to-back bantamweight action. Of course, you mentioned Shuto Watanabe's win is kind of the highlight so far. After that, Xian taking out Sone, as I mentioned. So the question here, Pat, is both of these guys get in the tournament, right? 16-man, I mean, that's plenty of space.
You'd think so. I mean, there's no way Xian doesn't get in. If Xian doesn't get in, I have no idea what someone has to do to punch their ticket into that tournament. With Watanabe, I guess RIZIN Bantamweight is stacked, and Watanabe did struggle in that opening round, right? I mean, and as you mentioned on your show, you know, when you're looking at, you know, who has more of the it factor and has a little bit more upside to, you know, promote, it's going to be Tamaru. And this Watanabe kind of played spoiler to that tonight. Mm-hmm. I think he should still definitely get a spot, but you're better versed and better poised to make this call than I. Do you think there's any chance Watanabe doesn't get the call?
I think he's probably safe to get in, especially after knocking off Takumi and finishing him. Like, if it would have been a decision, of course it would have been questionable. But I think that no matter kind of what the outcomes were in either of these fights, 16-man tournament, you know, that's a lot of people. And in this current time where it's most likely going to be entirely Japanese fighters, like, you got to think about, you know, bantamweight is amazing across the board, yes, but that's a lot of bodies, and you know, you gotta kind of not take what you have for the most part, because everybody is talented and there are good options and all that. And apparently, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, producer Jake, but Saki Kabara said that Kai has agreed to be in the tournament now. That was kind of a question mark going in, so big deal. Obviously, going to be maybe the favorite to win, alongside assuming Naoki Inoue is going to be in it as well. I feel like right now we can kind of assume that mostly any bantamweight coming off of a good win has a very good chance at the moment. So we kind of have to see once more things are official, I think. But, you know, Kai seems to be the first official name. correct me if I'm wrong there. He is saying can't confirm, but that is what it sounded. Oh, well, he doesn't know, but that's what I was reading. That's what I was reading. He said his sound was muted. Right. All right. Anyways, after that, after the bantamweight action, we did have Yoshinori Horii, who's the first, I believe first of two UFC veterans, of course, just one and done for Yoshinori when he took on Hakeem Dawodu a couple of years back. Got a good win there against Seki. Just how did you feel about that fight leading up to the finish, Pat? Because I feel like Horii started off very strong and then kind of let Seki get into it, and then third round pretty competitive, and then boy, just a beautiful shot to end it.
Yeah, that was so interesting to me because, like you said, first round, I think, okay, Hori's just running away with this. He's just sniping. I mean, Seki can't really do anything. It was Hori's controlling that fight in round one from start to finish. Then in round two, Seki gets a little bit more success on the feet, ends up hurting Horii, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of goes a little bit wild for the finish, and Horii gets to like lean on him in the clinch and basically recover for a bit. And then after that, he wasn't in too much danger.
Yeah.
That point on. But it was interesting that at one point Seki did have him rocked, and it looked like an upset might be coming. And then round three, Horii just goes out there and flatlines him and just says, "Nope, I'm punching my ticket to the 145-pound eight."
That was the old Bambi special there.
Yeah, I mean, dang, because Seki tried to get up and he just couldn't. He just tried. It's just
gravity sucks.
yeah. So I mean, obviously with the featherweight tournament being announced, that's only 8-man. You've got to make more of a statement to get in there. And I think round two was like, okay, but found some adversity. I still think he probably would have punched his ticket either way, but it was, looking a little bit more of maybe there's a reason to keep him out, so to speak. But then round three, I mean, I don't know how the way that ended, he's got to be in, right?
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet, and especially just because of the name value and kind of youth that he has just in general. He's like the full package for a guy that you want in there, and as somebody to hype up and make it. He's a good addition, no matter, how he would have won this, of course. But the fight definitely had a little bit of the momentum shifts, as we were mentioning there. But yeah, that finish and how clean that was, that's definitely, I think it is very safe that he'll be in there among that great 8 that we will see surely. So very good RIZIN debut for Yoshinori Horii in just overall, especially with the icing on that cake there. So looking forward to what is next for him. And then after that, as I mentioned, Taiga versus, Motoyama. That fight was just pretty madness. That might have been, I don't know, I want to say the fight of the night so far, because one of the other kickboxing matchups was pretty crazy too. Naito and Hiroki was all over the place, despite Naito, I think very clearly getting the win there, of course. But Taiga, that guy's always nonstop action in your face. Good fun to watch. And they were talking about him as the veteran, which was true. He was taking on the 19-year-old, but the guy's only 24 at the same time. It's like you forget that he is still he's younger than us, Pat. It's weird.
Yeah, it's the way they were talking about it, especially where it's like, I need a win here. It made it sound like he was like 38 on the edge of retirement, right? And then it's like, wait a second, dude's 24. Yeah, kicks right. And that was just a bonkers fight. And hats off to Motoyama for just hanging in there, right? Like, especially after round one, it looked like he was just done. And then round two, he comes back, he gets blooded up, he doesn't care, just stays in there. So a lot of grit, and as you mentioned, he's only 19 years old. I'm sure he'll get better, but yeah, what a bonkers fight. That was crazy.
Yeah, he definitely, it was impressive to see him kind of rally that way, for that age that he is and still kind of learning on the spot and against his idol, as Joe Ferraro continued to mention. So yeah, that was definitely, I don't think that's anything to hang his head on, good learning experience and a fun, overall fight. All right. So that kind of wraps up everything that we have seen so far. I think good to move on from there. And before we kind of look at what is left to come, which is very good stuff, Pat, what do you think of Johnny Case on the mic so far tonight? I don't know if you missed it, but he missed at the end of that fight, which was hilarious when he came back on. Sorry, internet dropped.
No, he adds he adds a new perspective to it, right? We're so used to Frank Trigg being on the other side of that, and to have, I compare him to watching football broadcasts. I compare him to being kind of like Tony Romo is, right?
Okay.
Where he's more of just kind of like, he gets excited about stuff. He's really amped up. He's still doing good commentary, but he brings that excitement and that kind of different lens rather than the traditional type of commentator role. So I think he's doing pretty well for his first time. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds like he's definitely enjoying the show, which is good. You hate to have somebody on there who's kind of just like, a little bit, I'm just doing a job. Like, it doesn't feel like he's doing a job. It feels like he's hanging out, which I appreciate. But at the same time, it is what it is. So, yeah, he's doing fine. I do prefer Trigg. That is me personally, but he's not doing bad by any means. So, and
definitely let us know in the comments before we move forward too what your favorite fight has been so far. I want to hear from you guys. Let's see, we got Arthur Antonio. I'm hyped for the Bantamweight Grand Prix, of course. I mean, that's going to be fire. That's going to be amazing.
Indeed.
There you go. That's exactly what Drake mentioned in terms of the two favorites.
Very possible. That could be the finals. We will see, Arthur. But thanks for chiming in, buddy. Good to see you here. Arthur's a regular viewer of some of my other broadcasts. All right, Pat, let's look a little bit now at the remaining. Well, we got 5 here, and we're kicking things off to return with some heavyweight action. I don't think we're going to go through all of them here, but Sudario's back, taking on Miyamoto, who is a professional wrestler, and I don't know if this is his first fight, but he's not primarily an MMA guy.
It is his first fight. Okay. So
it is hard to find legit people for Sudario, of course, besides Minimal Man, who's the most legit opponent that he could have fought last time, and passed in flying colors. So, yes, Sudario is back. Kleber Koike, who's phenomenal, former KSW champion, debuted at RIZIN 26. Koji Takeda, Tatsuya Kuma, very important fight at lightweight. Roberto Satoshi de Souza, and Kazuki Tokudome, who is the other former UFC veteran, and then the main event, which we will get more into that. But out of those ones preceding the main event, Pat, which one kind of catches your eye the most?
The one that catches my eye the most is Souza versus Tokudome. And that's mostly because, Souza didn't have to take this fight, presumably, right? So this is a high risk, low reward. And this is more just Souza, I'm assuming, as you mentioned on Drake's Takes, just wanting to stay active. So it's one of those things where this could be a huge upset if Tokudome ends up winning. I mean, does he get a title shot off of this? It's crazy to me.
Yeah, no, that co-main event is going to be very interesting, especially because Kazuki Tokudome is like the perfect guy to play spoiler. And, when you're in a position like Satoshi is now, like, he's all that much more dangerous going against somebody with as much experience, just, globally as Tokudome. This guy's fought UFC, like I mentioned, was just in one. It's been in Pancrase. Now he's in RIZIN. I'm probably forgetting, some others, but he's fought in like every organization you mostly can. And, didn't do bad in the UFC either. I think he was probably 500, but, he got some good wins there as opposed to Hori, who just got one opportunity awkwardly. So, yeah, that's going to be a very interesting matchup, but Satoshi should still be favored. That guy's phenomenal as well and rightfully has earned that shot against Tofik Musayev. So, yeah, I like that one as well. Hard not to. Sudario and Miyamoto coming up right next is going to be, it's always going to be interesting, for freak show purposes, more so than R.I.P. Bombardier.
Yeah, man, we missed out on Bombardier, so I'm looking forward to Sudario. This is,
get a little bit of something there. And Arthur here chiming in with Kleber as his, person, which is totally fair, and I like that as well. Kleber Koike definitely competing for a spot in the featherweight tournament. There's pretty much no way whatsoever that this guy will not be in there. If he wins, no matter how he wins, he's going to be in there. And it'll be cool too to see how him and Satoshi competing on the same card, if they kind of feed into each other a little bit, because they're very close training partners for a long time and what have you. And then Takasuke Kume and Koji Takeda, very important fight at lightweight as well, to the deep champ versus the Pancrase champ. So
yeah,
that will be fun as well. But as for the main event, Pat, of course, we've got to preview that a little bit as it's coming up here, man. The rematch. The GOAT is back. taking on the young prodigy Kanna Asakura once more. Initial thoughts, my man. Initial thoughts as we're right about to get to it.
Yeah. No, so I mean, I love this matchup, right? I mean, this is great, especially when you've seen Kanna's growth. It's one of those things where I'm very excited to see how she does against Hamasaki. The only thing I wish is that we could just suspend Hamasaki in, a cryo chamber for 5 years, let Kanna Asakura get another 4 or 5 years under her belt, and then we have a matchup. Because that's my only, I feel like no matter how this goes, it's going to be just missing Prime Asakura versus Hamasaki. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think that is a fair assumption, kind of to say that way. And we will probably, never see that at this point. It is possible because Hamasaki is literally reversing in time in terms of age. Like, she is just unbelievable right now, better than ever at, I believe, 39 on the 31st of this month. So 10 days away from her birthday. Yeah, she's incredible. And I said it after that last win at RIZIN 26 over Miyu, man. Like, I don't know how you can think that anybody is going to be all that competitive with her. That isn't named Sohyam at this stage. When she's putting on performances like that in title fights against top 5 fighters in Miyu, like, beating them with a head scissors in a minute 30, roughly, like, and she wasn't even that impressed with her own performance. Like, that performance, like, blows my mind and shows you just how much she's continuing to work to get better despite what she's already accomplished. And, she's a freak, man. She's a freak. Kanna also is a freak for how good she is at 23. But, like, we saw this happen already, and the time between their first fight, I don't think she's definitely clearly made a lot of improvements and looked very good in that time. But I don't think it's enough, man. It's a little bit similar, to go back to you and Ant's argument, Whitaker versus Izzy, not to the same degree. That there was more time between that. But I don't know. I think it will be more competitive than the first time because really Kanna just was totally out experienced in that fight. And, that was kind of a big learning lesson for her. But, I still don't think it's going to be enough. Hamasaki just has so many tools in her tool bag. And, yeah, man, she's to go for a reason. That's how I'm looking at this. So, yeah, as I've mentioned and have mentioned, I can't go against Hamasaki if you're not named Ham. And even then, I'm probably not, because that last fight was very close. So my official pick is definitely Hamasaki in this one. And by another submission, I think second round once again. So, yeah,
I've got to go that way as well. And, it's just... Arthur, I do love this. That Hamasaki was a savage. When she said that Asakura hasn't really improved. I don't agree that Asakura hasn't improved, but yeah, Hamasaki just trash
in Hamasaki world. No, I guess not.
Yeah, and I know we're wrapping up intermission here. It looks like they're heading back, so we will be leaving here soon. Real quick to answer Arthur's question: Will Horiguchi be in the tournament? It sounds like. I don't know. I honestly, it sounds like a no, but maybe he will be. Do you know any more about this, Drake?
Let's see if I can say this without comfortably revealing something. I think there's a 95% chance he will not be in the tournament. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Very safe.
There you go. We're breaking it down.
There you go. That's why you come here for your scoopsies.
Exactly. Scooping it up.
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, we are. I think we're about to wrap up here. So thank you all for watching. Appreciate it. Drake, you want to take us home?
Of course, happy to take it home, you guys. Of course, just a brief, intermission, which is sad because we don't get to spend more time with you, but that is what we all generally want to have, right? Not a lot of time between, breaks here on RIZIN because the action is so good and so fast and so furious tonight, and we have plenty of great fights still coming up, the best of the fights. That's why they're saved for last. So thank you so much, you guys, for joining us here on the RIZIN 27 Intermission Show. Hope you have enjoyed. You missed the whole thing, Shingo. Good to see you, buddy.
Shingo coming in last minute. Yeah.
That was perfect.
Thank you, Shingo. As always, man. It's an honor for you to come in here and say that. We really appreciate it.
Greatly. Well, while you're here, Shingo, I guess Is there a specific time left, do you think, for how long we got? We were about to wrap up literally right before you said that. Should end soon. So yeah, we're right on track. See, we got it down by now.
Yeah, we're experts.
Yeah, we're experts. So don't forget, like, share, subscribe, you guys. Hit the notification bell. Always tune in for RIZIN events, and we will be here. And yeah, it'd be a long one if that was the case. As you mentioned, Fuji TV. That's when we get real time to waste, as they would say, because of that's how TV things work. So
it's when you get real time for in-depth analysis and discussion on RIZIN events is what Drake meant to say there.
yes, that is what it meant. Thank you. That's why we have each other. All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of the show. Hope you enjoyed this one. Come back next time. We will be here, and just tune into all the great content that we got putting up here on the channel, because there is plenty of it. And I'm very biased, but it's true. It's damn true.
It really is. Thanks so much, guys. Until next time.